Low ranked players arguably have the most problems in Overwatch 2. Aside from lacking poor skill with base fundamental mechanics, players will also have inadequate game sense and decision making. My name is Halzeey, and in today's video I'm going to try to apprehend common low rank mistakes and how to fix them. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Enjoy. Players in lower ranked divisions are prone to making more mistakes in order for you to capitalize on them. Most of the time, this is going to be their positioning. Look for overextended enemies at all times. In lower ranks, players tend not to play behind their tank or play their role correctly. The first thing to understand is how to outsmart your enemy. To do this, you must understand how to play your role correctly. In general, tanks are designed to create space for your team. DPS, deal damage and maintain high grounds, and also find finishing blows, supports, heal your team, and use utility to help find the final kills. Once you understand what role you are trying to play on a team, it is important that you stick to it and play your role. One of the biggest mistakes I see from lower elo players is not playing their role correctly, which is only putting a hindrance for your team. For example, if you have an Ana on your team but is focusing on dealing damage rather than healing your tank now has to play more carefully, which allows for less space to be created and a lower chance of winning the game. In Overwatch 2, there is an ebb and flow for each position in the game. Healers heal the tank for them to create space, DPS provide final blows and protect your healers from incoming threats, and tanks create space for the rest of the team. If one of these pieces isn't doing their job correctly, it ruins the entire ebb and flow of how the game is supposed to be played. Transitioning into the next point, the next thing I'm going to discuss is proper positioning. Positioning in Overwatch 2 is one of the most important things a player can do. It is what separates good players from great players. Every character in the game will have a different positioning they are supposed to be played at. The correct term for this is spacing. Spacing is the maximum optimal range your character should be played at while trying to maintain that distance. For example, hit scan characters in Overwatch like Soldier 76 or Cassidy have damage drop-off points. In this example, we will look at Cassidy. His damage drop-off is 20 meters. However, anything less than 20 meters, you will do full damage. Anything above 20 meters will deal less damage. The optimal range to play Cassidy would be at his 0 to 19 meter damage drop-off range. Optimally, at 19 meters at all times. You do this in order to be the safest possible while still maintaining maximum damage. A common mistake I see at lower ranks is they are not utilizing their character's maximum range. Instead, they are playing medium to long range characters next to the tank, not utilizing proper positioning or high ground. Speaking of high grounds, it is important to utilize high grounds whenever possible as they will allow for a huge advantage when fighting the enemy team. High grounds not only make you harder to hit, they make it easier for you to hit enemies with headshots, dealing more damage. Before every team fight as a DPS player, you should be looking to create space on the high ground. If you do this, it will give you a significant advantage before entering a team fight. Most of the time in lower elos, they aren't even utilizing the high ground correctly, so make sure to communicate with your teammates and get them to help you take the high ground as it will give you a significant advantage. As you climb higher and higher in the ranks, you'll see actually how important it becomes. Most of the time, the high ground is the first thing that people fight over before even getting to the site. The most common mistake I see low elo players making when team fighting is that they are not playing with their team correctly. What I mean by this is that they are not on the same page about the play they are trying to make. For example, in a team fight, obviously there's 5 different targets, but if everyone's hitting a different target, then most likely the targets are not going to die. So it's very important that you have good communication with your teammates in order to pick a target, focus down a target, and that way you gain the advantage during the team fight. Tying in everything I've said in the video thus far, it's very important to position properly behind your tanks as everyone plays their own role, especially during a team fight. This is predominantly when you see most of the roles in action, and it's very important that during each fight, everyone is playing their role perfectly. The next thing I want to discuss is playing too aggressive or not aggressive enough. What separates good players from great players is they see opportunities that other people wouldn't. So for example, if it's a 5v4 and you see the enemy team running, some people will just take the 5v4 win and back off, but other players will see it as an advantage, push forward, and try to capitalize on the 5v4 and try to get it to a 5-0. It's very important in Overwatch 2 to push an advantage once you have one. If you don't push your advantage, it will be harder to win the games. While teamfighting, it is important to play your life. That is one of the most important things in Overwatch 2. The longer you can play your life and stall and deal damage, the more likely you are to actually win the team fight. I'm sure we have all had that game where it feels like our supports are the first ones dying in every single fight, and they just feel completely unwinnable. Now, what goes hand in hand with this is it is important to know when to back up from a fight. If the fight is completely lost from the beginning, it's very important that you play your life and back up from the current team fight. For example, say your tank dies right away in a fight, please don't pop any ultimates, as it's literally just going to be a complete waste and you're going to be fighting a 5v4. It's honestly way better to wait the extra 10-15 seconds for your tank to get back to the fight before you pop any ultimates than trying to fight a 5v4 hero fight. Ultimates in Overwatch 2 are extremely powerful abilities that can turn the tides of the game. Saving ultimates is a massive mistake that I see new players making all the time. The quicker you are to use your ultimate, the quicker you will be able to charge up to another one and win more fights. Just think, by using more ultimates, it will give you more kills, which will mean more teamfight wins, and more wins overall. For example, if you save your Genji Dragon Blade for the opportune 2 to 3 kills, the time you spent waiting in order to use your ultimate could have been used to farm up another Dragon Blade. Overwatch is almost balanced around the ultimate cooldowns and how they work within the game, especially when you switch and you get put down to 30%. It's very important to manage your ultimate within Overwatch and use it correctly. It's almost never worth it saving your ultimate unless you absolutely have to. For example, if your team has already popped 2 to 3 ultimates in a team fight, then yeah, sure, it's probably okay to save your ultimate for the next team fight and try and secure the win with that one ultimate. But for most of the time, it's almost never worth it to hang on to it because you're just wasting ultimate charge potential. And just a simple thing too, when you are comboing ultimates, for example Zarya and Genji Blade, make sure to just communicate. The most frustrating thing is when one person randomly pops their ultimate when they're supposed to combo, when it's supposed to be a guaranteed free teamfight win, and it's just like they don't communicate at all, and it's just, you need to be communicating with your teammates at all times. Speaking of communication, don't backseat your teammates as well. You're all in the same rank, right? Just focus on your own gameplay. Now, these are just a few mistakes I see low elo players making. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. What am I missing? What are some mistakes you see in your games that I'm not seeing? Now, don't be ashamed if you don't see improvements right away, but over time, if you apply what I've said in this video, you will start to see improvements in your gameplay. It is very important you don't get frustrated with yourself and just to keep improving at the game. Eventually, over time, you'll start to rank up the more you play and understand how it is supposed to be played. If you found any of the information in this video helpful, please consider subscribing. My name is Halzeey, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.